All right, here we have a quick overview of the Kids Explore bags that I'm putting together for my son and his friend. They're heading to our cabin this weekend. These bags will end up living up at our cabin for the boys to grab when they go out into the woods or out exploring or generally hang out at the rivers or the woods or the lakes, just to give them some security to have some items they may require and or just to have some items that may be fun to have if you're out exploring and looking around. Anyway, we have this great little over the head kind of shoulder messenger bag that sits on your hip. Lots of space inside, a couple extra pockets, and some places to throw some items. And looks to be fairly comfortable, so hopefully they'll enjoy that immensely from a comfort standpoint. Going down here, we have our fire starter kit, just a small fire starter kit that comes with some cubes and whatnot, sparkers, strikers for starting a fire if required. Obviously, we'll have some conversations about when and where fires are appropriate. But for the most part, they understand that if they wish to make a fire, they usually do it in our fire pit. And I don't expect any issues, but we will have a conversation about just not touching these items unless they're required. They're not to be used as toys or just for fun. And the boys are pretty responsible, so I don't expect that to be an issue. Here we also have a small little first aid kit, of which I've added some extra alcohol wipes and band-aids and a couple extra pieces of gauze, and there's tape already in there just in case of any cuts, abrasions. We may look into adding some bug spray, a small thing of bug spray in there as well, just so they can keep that handy for mosquitoes. I forgot to mention in here we also threw in an emergency whistle, which will probably get attached onto the bag somewhere, just so they have a good screamer whistle with them. Over here we have a little poncho, just in case they get stuck out in the elements and the rain. It's always good to be able to just drift one of these things open and throw it on to keep yourself dry. Last year we got caught in a pretty bad rainstorm, of which we were ATVing out of the woods for about an hour and a half, and while we had some summer jackets, not exactly waterproof, so the ponchos that we had on the ATVs came in extraordinarily helpful. So always good to have and just keep around you. We have a survival blanket, for the most part, to be left alone. It can be used as a shelter. If you're putting together a quick little shelter, you can use this as kind of waterproofing to keep the water off you. Or again, if you need to huddle up and wrap it around you. I assume if you get to that point, though, things are pretty tough, and hopefully you'll have a fire and a decent shelter going, which myself and Nathan and some of his friends have practiced actually making some of those. So I expect that they should be able to take care of themselves if need be to make a shelter, and we'll go through that again this summer of making one for use when required. We have a nice Mora knife, very sharp. Mostly I expect the kids to be using it for doing their whittling of spears and bows and arrows and the types of items they like to sharpen. They've been doing that for a couple of years and just decided to get them some consistent knives that fit good, have a little finger guard on them, and yeah, so it's pretty sharp little knife, but like I say, also nice little finger guard so they can keep their finger from slipping on there. When using that, get a nice pair of gloves. If we can focus here, I'm not sure why it's going on. A nice pair of leather gloves, and just a little Imperial Schrade pocket knife to keep with them, again, for any whittling they may want to do. This might be more comfortable in their hands for just general light duty use, and feel a little bit safer with that. I expect them not to use this one too awful much unless doing some hard sharpening or something along those lines, but this will probably be their general purpose whittling knife. Then we have a compass just to help them with their orienteering and directions. We're on the north side of a highway, a few kilometers back off the highway, but on the north side nonetheless. So if anything were to happen, they can be educated on heading south, and south will get you back to a highway if that were ever to be the case, and or just to give them a sense of general direction to be used, and we'll go over the use of it a little bit more so, even though touch base on it, with a nice reflective mirror, just from a safety standpoint, to be able to do some light reflecting if they need to catch somebody's attention. Also here, a little knot cards. There's, I believe, 5 cards in there, 11 essential knots. Just something to practice on to learn how to tie different types of knots that may come in handy for strapping down a little lean-to or a shelter, or you know, pulling something up into a tree, or whatever the case may be. As well as just some light-duty 320 paracord, always great for lashing and whatnot. Over here, just an inexpensive little headlamp to keep them, you know, when they're playing Man-Track in the evening, or running around as they are usually late into the evening. Gives them a little bit of light that they can draw upon. And up here, just a little inexpensive little folding saw to help them take down trees. They seem to always be in cutting down little saplings and whatnot and use them for spears, so this will make it a little bit easier. At first they were using an axe a fair bit, which was fine, but I think this might be a little bit easier to take down those little 1-inch saplings for their use. And and of course with the headlamp, some spare batteries just in case the batteries run out. Over here we have some animal tack dog deterrent, and again we'll go over the use of that. My son has carried bear spray before, so he's well aware of when and how it should be used, and he understands that most these things aren't toys, so this will just come in handy if any little critters get a little bit you know, frisky or get a little bit nosy. Then you know, they keep this in their hand just in case it's required, but I wouldn't expect that they would ever need or use that. Then you know, over here we have a couple snap sticks that they keep in. We have usually a fairly good amount of these things around, because we use them at the cabin. The kids use them all the time when they're sleeping out in the fort or in the tents, or just in general down in the basement. We use them as glow sticks at night or when they're playing Man-Tracker. So an 8 and 12 hour, white and green. We also have blues and yellows and oranges, so they can use these as they want to, and we always have more to replace them with. Then lastly, I guess a little 10 by 25 monocular. The boys were out on their kayaks on the lake and had seen a bear on the other side of the lake last year, so of course they kind of hung out there and were watching him, and a little monocular might kind of help bring it a little closer into view without having to get themselves into a situation where they get too up close and personal with them. So just a great little thing for, you know, bird watching, animal watching, and I think they'll probably get a lot of use out of that. Otherwise, it'll be all into this bag with some emergency drinking water packs, a couple 125 milliliter water packs that we'll throw in there just in case they need, and a couple protein bars and maybe some hard candies. That will top out the bag for the time being until we see if there's anything else required, and or maybe take something away. It's hard to say. But anyway, this is the contents of the bag. It looks like it should serve them well. It gets a little bit of everything in there for the explorer type boys that like to be outdoors and like to be on their own traipsing around. So hopefully this will satisfy the requirements. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Take care. Bye-bye.